got my... Oh my gosh. I had made 2 Steam accounts, and so when I made my new one, it didn't cross-save because I had cross-saved already under my first Steam account, so I had to go back to my first Steam account in order to play Destiny 2 and have all my character stuff. Great! Gosh, this thing looks horrible. Alright, I gotta fix some stuff here, bro. Settings. Okay, here we go. Looks... Keyboard and mouse. Don't do that. Video burst. Full screen. Okay, that's right. Why does it look so weird? No. See, that's the one I don't want. Full screen. Windows. I don't know what I need. There we go. What the? It just fixed itself. Oh my gosh. Texture. What? Texture. Nice, bro. What are we talking about? Depth of field. Environment. Detail distance. High, bro. Putting everything high, man. Not everything. High. I want to light shafts. Okay. Resolution. I don't know why that wasn't all the way up. I'm still on the VRAM. Still not even on the VRAM. Right, shit. What's this? And it says NVIDIA, I know. Okay, so it's good. Okay, let's see. You see I'm getting a little bit of flashing. Do y'all see that? Maybe it's just me. Alright, let's see. because it's barely noticeable, but it's like a little pulse. It's like a going down to 51 frames per second, 52 frames per second. Why the heck do I have this shit on? What? Why? Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Look, look sensitivity. What? I don't know what to put that on. Sure. Oh, that's for mouse. Okay, it's not doing it now, so that's good. Yeah, I need to. I was wondering. I was like, why is my character not showing up? But it was. What it was is that I was on the wrong character, and my guns weren't there. Oh my gosh, bro! I'm so happy. I can finally use OBS, and I can finally play on this. So I have, so I, it looks like I have all, I actually have all my, does everything transfer over? I thought I would have to buy the DLCs at least. I'm using a 40, I'm trying out this $40 camera. It's the Brio 100 by Logitech, $39.99 at Best Buy, or you might be finding it $35 on Amazon. But I mean, I haven't done any settings to the camera. I hadn't even messed with the camera settings at all. So what y'all see is what. Is this the camera right here? Streamlabs, Destiny. Yeah, I haven't really messed with the camera, so I mean, it looks all right. What I've seen, it looks all right. I need to get out of this. No, no. No. Okay. I gotta figure out how to get back to my other screen when I'm using. Like, how do I? Golly, dude. How do I? Like, how do I get back to my? How do I get back to That's so weird. You change your weapons with wheel, mouse. I'm trying to get back on my. How do I get back on my other screen? On my computer. Actually, how do I get out of this? Oh God, whatever.
There's no data like encrypted data.
Welcome.
All the same.
Let me do it.
System sequence, but what is sequence? course, sequence is...
How do I get back, dude? Whoa. I screwed that up. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I screwed up.
There we go. Whoa! Okay. Can we please exit here?
No, I'm trying to.
Get me out, bro. God bless, man.
Oh no.
Come on. How do I get my screen, dude?
I think I broke my computer.
Waste my monitor. I can't get back to my. Thank you. No. Okay. How? Really? That's all I had to do? Oh man. Okay, I figured it out. Easy. I
just didn't know what button. I was pressing all the buttons trying to figure out. Sorry, guys. We're good. We're good. We're good. See, the thing is that I won't. Okay, okay. Okay. I need to add something. No, not that. I need to add image, media source, scene, video capture device, window capture, display source browser, chat. I need a chat window. Where's my chat window at? Still figuring this crap out, dude. No, we don't want to do that.
Wait, did I screw it up again? y'all see that?
Cora, Finch, anyone? We're at the old worm breeding facility. Swarm presence seems to have grown again.
I'm here. Man, I'm barely exploiting the darkness here. It's fun to break into the throne world with a light no. Fair amount. Makes all of our lives easier if we're not overrunning the place.
Taken care of.
Why can't I bring up my freaking... Why can't I bring up my freaking, Sparrow? Okay. How do I bring my ghost? I can't bring my ghost up there. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry guys, I had to figure out what my freaking ghost was. But I have a... I'm using this controller right here. I got it for like $40. It's like highly recommended for like... I mean, I'm going to use my DualSense Edge eventually. Yeah, I'm using this one. I'm kind of taking it slow to get into the whole PC. I've never done PC gaming in my life, so this is the first gaming laptop that I've ever owned that was like really good. I mean, I had a gaming tower that was okay. It was like medium level. These guys are this guy. I was trying to figure out if I see differences. The graphics look a little bit better on the PS5. Well, I don't know how much I can see better. Definitely, there's different little things I can see that are better. A little bit better. Not like crazy. PS5 is good graphics, guys. But, and it's made, you know. But, let's see. This is what I'm gonna be curious about. Because I noticed when I was just shooting those guys, it was a little jumpy looking. Kind of like stuttery a little bit. So I might have to... See, this is what I like. When you buy a console, the settings are already good pretty much. You don't really have to change a lot. You know, you don't have to worry about VRAM and all this other junk. I can just turn my frames off. That's what I can do. I bet this will work. I bet this will work. Let me go drop down. Let me turn this off. Turn this off. And rendering. Let me turn this down a little bit. Oh crap! is good. Whoa, what's Weasel? See. That's one reason I didn't want to go to Destiny 2 on PC because I see people online while they're playing. It constantly seems like they get kicked a lot. I mean, more than PS5 instead. Definitely. I can count on my one hand how many times I've been kicked out of Destiny on PS5. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. No, never mind. I've been kicked out a lot, but not like Destiny Weasel.
Destiny Weasel.
Yo, Chris Bassett here. Is Destiny 2's Code Weasel giving you a problem? I've got a couple of solutions. Let's get into it. Google describes error code weasel is Bungie's code name for an issue that occurs when Destiny 2 players try to log onto multiple accounts simultaneously while cross-save is enabled on their account. So what actually happened to me was I had my Destiny item manager on my phone, and then I also tried to log into my Xbox to play. So since I was logged into the app on my phone and I tried to log into my Xbox simultaneously, it kept giving me the code weasel. Some of the other solutions that Google offers is to reset the console, reset your router, and then also do like a cache clear. I would recommend doing the last thing because that requires you to completely restart your console and then delete the Destiny and download the Destiny, and it takes hours to reset your router. Wait 2 minutes, plug it back in, and then that should reset the router. So here's a list of the top 5 fixes for error code weasel.
Okay.
You replace your coax cables and
Oh, shut up, dude. You doing all that? Crazy. If you get it constant, if I get it constant. What? I didn't mean. They probably think I'm like some lunatic, man. They're probably like, this guy's a crazy person. Oh, I've been playing Destiny. In case anybody's wondering, you haven't seen my channel. I've been playing Destiny since D1 Alpha, over 16,000 hours. So. Yeah, this control, I don't know, this control feels a little weird. Also, the jumping doesn't seem. I think it's. Yeah, it did. Catwoman Weasel. I got weaseled. Okay, so we got 90. Oh, VSync. Yeah, let me turn that VSync down. I bet that's what it was. I bet that's what it was, dude. Guarantee you that's what it was. Yep. Yeah, that you gotta watch that VSync stuff, man. I think I might go on YouTube tomorrow and see what everybody has their settings. What everybody has their settings at on PC, because I haven't.
Once, these cells were kept by Oryx. He imprisoned defeated enemies and discarded progeny to be stripped for chitin and repurposed into something useful. Now this prison is occupied by the Taken, and Xivu Arath's hive come to bring the war to them.
Still looks really good. Yeah, turn it down. Y'all see that? It's kind of on it. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know. Is it me or is it? Looks like it's, yeah, see, it's dropping down to 20. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna turn it down some, dude. This is, yeah, not my frame cap. I'm gonna turn this stuff off. I don't even know what this is. See, this is what I need to find out what I need to put these on, and it'll look definitely it'll look way better tomorrow. need to be playing Gambit. I'm like, I just need to reset to get my dredging 10 times. This part's fine, but when I get near enemies, they look like... It's not really stuttered. Oh, maybe it is a stutter. I don't know.
Evil wrath's hunters will become the hunted. They will have no retreat. What a killing floor this would be.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I think I might. Feels good, man. Feels good. Yeah. Feels good. I've already got all those things up there. Whatever. Done all that jazz. Yeah. One thing I forgot to change though, I'm an idiot.
Oh, I do see
I
why
have these
she
things on,
likes
and I
you.
don't even have Thundercloud.
Nothing more than pockets of battle here. You must keep going deeper still.
The deepest part of this prison has seen the most.
Just that was not fun. Oh crap. Oh, there's an edge there? Of course there is. If there's an edge, I'll find it. That's how I died.
You're running out of time.
Freaking always falling off cliffs. I meant to take care of those, I forgot. seems like everything. Yeah, I could definitely the graphics are better. It seems like everything's more colorful, a little bit more detail. But you know what I'm saying? I have no problem with my PS5. There's, I mean, like, see, like this stuff right here, this, all that is, yeah, it's certain things. I don't know how to explain it. But I can make it, I can get it to look even better. I just got to figure out these settings because I'm not used to messing with game settings on for PCs. So. They were all dead. That thing was showing their death. That thing showed their death before they were even dead.
There! You are there! The hive and the taken, and the ritual to grieve them. The hilt of the world breaker. Relic of a brother's soul. Seal of rock.
It feels like it's. Another thing I noticed, like this strike right here in this place, I feel like I can see it. I used to have chips and shoots and missiles on here, so probably pretty awesome. I wanted to try it.
But something else has stepped in again.
This is not my taking. My slave to all.
You have authority.
Yeah, that thunderclap's good. Especially if you're using these. Hey! Hey!
Try again. For now, we have won. And we have Worldbreaker's hilt.
Arc.
He's secure. Discontented, but held fast. Hear him. Do you hear him intervening any further? He is secure.
Okay, who gave me the...
I have him. I have him.
Wait, what? Oops. Monte Carlo, I see. What time's it? Oh, okay. It's almost 2. Best Destiny 2 PC settings.
Best Destiny 2 PC settings.
There are some settings in Destiny 2 that you should literally never use, and yet I still see a lot of people with these absolutely awful settings. The default settings are pretty bad, and this screws over a lot of new players, but even experienced players often have garbage settings. You might not even know that certain default settings are automatically turned on and are actively hurting your gameplay. So without further ado, here are the 20 Destiny 2 settings you need to change immediately. First off, we have full auto firing. This one will be off by default, but you should definitely turn it on because it makes all of your weapons fire full auto. Once you have this turned on, you can just hold down the trigger and even your heavy weapon will fire forever until it runs out of ammo. This will optimize your damage and maximize your rate of fire, so there really is no reason you should have this turned off.
Yep.
Next up is radar opacity, and this lets you have a black circle behind your radar to make it more visible. When you have the default setting, the radar is almost to turn the opacity awful blur whenever there is any movement at all in the game. Destiny is famous in the gaming community for having a lot of movement, so motion blur in Destiny is just not a setting that you want to be using. I constantly see new players with this one turned on.
I turn motion blur off of everything because it makes me sick.
A lot of people
It makes
just
my
aren't
eyes
aware
sick.
of how much it is actually hurting their gameplay.
It does.
I mean,
It hurts
in
your
theory,
eyes.
motion blur is a cool cinematic setting for movies and stuff, and it might even be nice for games with a really slow pace. However, in an FPS game where you need to react fast and move even faster, you should really never have motion blur turned on. Since it
That
blurs
and
your
it'll make you
view so
throw up.
dramatically, it
I
will
can't believe he
literally
didn't
make
mention that.
enemies harder to see, and therefore your aim will be objectively worse. It also just makes your game look kind of ugly. Like, tell me which of these two screenshots you would rather have. Of course, this matters for all activities, but it's extra important to turn this off when playing the Crucible. When you're moving around the map, the motion blur setting will obscure
Okay,
your
we get the
opponents,
motion
and
blur,
then
dude.
able
Just
to kill
tell the
you
settings
before
and
you
move
even
on,
see
bruh.
them. Like,
You
if you
don't
happen
need to
be
give
turning
us
around
a
fast, it will get
thesis
so
on
blurry
motion
that it will
blur.
be impossible to see
Okay.
your opponent. Actually crazy. Motion blur is at the blur instead one off. There's a reason that two options here allow you to have your crosshair in the true center of your screen or strangely low down instead. As you can see right here, this setting is pretty significantly below the real center of the screen. This low down setting was originally in
Below
Halo
center
to
is
help
not
you see
default.
aerial targets, and it's still somehow the default on Destiny
No,
consoles.
it's not.
But for most players,
No, it's not.
simply best to have the reticle in the middle of the screen. Aiming feels way more intuitive when using the center position, and overall it dictates your input. As you might imagine, this feels absolutely terrible, and you should never have this turned on. It might make your camera movement look more fluid, but it will absolutely destroy your muscle memory for aiming, and this will make you much worse at the game. Also, unfortunately, the game is bugged, and turning off aim smoothing in-game doesn't actually turn it off or your muscle memory for aiming and to your input. As you might imagine, is this aim smoothing feature. This will basically make it so aiming feels way more intuitive when using the center position, and overall it's just a far better experience. Next up is this aim smoothing feature. This will basically make it so that your aim will gradually accelerate smoothly instead of instantly reacting to your input. As you might imagine, this feels absolutely terrible, and you should never have this turned on. It might make the game is bugged, and turning off aim smoothing in-game doesn't actually turn it off on PC. I know this is ridiculous, but to make sure it's fully turned off, you need to search this into Windows and then open this file. Find the aim smoothing line and replace the two with a 0, and this will finally turn off aim smoothing. And in case you're worried, this is completely legal and will not get you banned. All this does is change the setting, and the whole point of settings is that they are meant to be changed. Within your video settings, the 120Hz mode is something you absolutely must turn on. This is a complete game changer that increases your refresh rate and therefore makes everything much more smooth and responsive to your input. This setting only exists on current generation consoles, but to be clear, this video is meant for all types of players. Some settings will only apply to controller and some only apply to mouse, but the majority of the settings in this video will apply to everyone, and there are clear chapters to indicate this. There are a lot of maps in Destiny 2, and everyone has their least favorite maps that they simply don't enjoy. Do you wish there was a setting where you could block your least favorite maps in order to avoid playing them so much? Well, in War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video, this is actually something that you can do to the 1920. For all types on your favorite video of VSync also adds a tremendous amount of input lag, making the game feel unresponsive and sluggish, especially in fast-paced environments. For this reason, you should definitely not use VSync. Modern displays do not really struggle with screen tearing, so this is probably not something you need to worry about. It also seems that VSync is only available on PC, so don't worry about this if you're on console. This next one is totally optional and is purely personal preference, but I thought I'd briefly mention it here since this is a video about settings. Some people choose to turn off the default color mode in favor of something
Dude,
like
this guy
Artopia,
sucks, man.
even though they aren't actually
He's
colorblind.
going
Due
over
to
stupid.
Today I've got for you guys the best Destiny 2 settings in 2022 for improved FPS. You don't need to go all in on FPS. It's nice to keep some of that visual fidelity for that nice gameplay experience. I'm also aware of... I want to make it clear that this is not going to just be lowering every single setting in the game down to the lowest. You don't need to go all in on FPS. It's nice to keep some of that visual fidelity for that nice gameplay experience. I'm also, where applicable, going to be offering a couple of different options for some of the settings where potentially, based on your build, you might be able to set it differently depending on what you actually want to get out of your settings. Before we jump into it, today's video is sponsored by Blaze Services, so you can skip the Toxic LFG live at checkout for a 5% discount on any service. Go check it out, links in the description. So we're currently here on EDZ, just overlooking a battle that's going on below. We're not going to get involved in that, we're just going to be focusing on our settings, but being in an area like this, when you're trying out settings, means you can have a look around and actually get a good idea of FPS fluctuations and overall how the game looks. So let's jump into these settings. Oh, I'm actually getting shot. Let's just move out of the way of that. These ships flying in, maybe let's just move over a little bit. Okay, hopefully this ends up a bit better. We're in a bit more of a remote area, a little bit further away from that fighting happening over there. So let's jump into the settings. Hopefully you don't get killed this time. Go to your video and we will begin. So starting off with window mode, you've got the options of windowed, full screen, borderless windowed, and windowed full screen. I've got two recommendations here for you. I think if you're going for the maximum optimization in terms of really good low latency gameplay, it's not really much about FPS, but definitely the latency side of things, then go full screen. It's going to mean that the game has complete access to all resources on your PC while you're actually running the game. It's running exclusively in full screen, so anything happening basically in the background on your PC is kind of, it's like frozen in place, and the game is getting all of the resources through to it. Borderless windowed is going to be a better option for you if you are someone who likes to alt tab a lot. You know, you're doing something, you're doing another thing, maybe you're following a guide or something. This is going to allow you to have a quicker alt tab in and out of the game, but it can have an adverse impact on your input latency. I say can. Not everyone has the problems, so try both of these out, see which one works for you. I think if you're just going for proper optimization, full screen is going to be your best bet. That's what I go for. Next up is resolution. You want to put this to whatever the native resolution of your monitor is. What I mean by native is what is the actual kind of base resolution of the monitor. For me, I have a 1080p monitor. A lot of people will have 2K monitors. My secondary monitor is a 2K monitor, so 2560 by 1440. But the first thing you should be doing is going for native, because that's going to make the game actually look the best. If you start trying to upscale this, for whatever reason, if you want to try and push the game past its limits, it actually makes the game look a bit worse, and there's a better way to improve the visual fidelity if you want to further down in the menu. So for now, keep this at whatever the native resolution of the monitor is. For me, that's 1920 by 1080. Next up is VSync. Keep this off. If you're running a G-Sync setup, where your monitor is using a FreeSync or a G-Sync technology to maintain a refresh rate that matches the game, then you can start doing things with VSync, but I don't touch any of that, and I'd recommend most people don't unless you know what you're doing. Instead, make sure VSync is off. You're going to get way better input latency in the game. It's going to potentially lead to some screen tearing, but with most setups, this game doesn't have much problem with screen tearing, so I'd keep this off. Frame cap, I would honestly recommend that you enable this in this game. Simple reason is, going over your refresh rate, it can cause a few issues, and the bigger thing is there's no real need to. Now, I have a 240Hz monitor, so I put my However, I do not hit 240 FPS in this game, so this doesn't really but for a lot of you guys who I know will be running 144 Hz monitors or even 60 Hz monitors,
No,
this
I'm
frame
running a
rate can
240
help you a lot
hertz.
stabilize your FPS. You do not need to be going over 144 in this game, and having a smooth, consistent frame rate will make the game feel so much better. Once again, if you are really, really focused on the competitive side of things, Crucible or Gambit, you may get advantages in terms of latency from having this uncapped. But if you're playing the game from a PvE standpoint mostly with a bit of PvP, keep the frame rate cap on, set your frame rate cap to the refresh rate of your monitor, and then just leave it at that because you'll get a nice, smooth frame rate, assuming you're hitting that frame rate all the time, which hopefully with the rest of these settings you will be. Field of view. This is an interesting one. I've always said in a lot of games, the field of view should just go to max. And if you have a solid PC build, do this. Shove this to 105. Having a wider FOV makes the game so much more enjoyable to play. You get a lot more on your screen at once, which gives you both a competitive advantage as well as just making the game
I agree. I usually play field of view 95 anyway, so.
Low FOV, it makes you feel like you're running really slow. Gives you that kind of console experience, as we call it. You know, us PC gamers, we like our FOV. So I'd recommend putting it on max. However, if you have a slower PC build, field of view is actually known in this game to affect FPS because you're having more stuff on the screen.
That's true.
I'm at 105 FOV in comparison to 95 FOV.
What does it go up to?
There's more on the screen when I'm at 105, so that lowers the FPS an actual significant amount, up to 10 FPS sometimes. 10 FPS.
I think 95. I'm staying at 95.
Low spec PC is a lot. So the low spec PCs or people playing on laptops and stuff, start bringing this field of view down to a level where you can bear with it. Some people really don't mind and they'll put this really, really low. Fair enough, go for it. You will gain FPS. But for us who have strong PC builds, it's not really going to make much difference. I'd recommend you just put it on max.
Put it on max.
Screen bounds and
If it
adjust
doesn't,
brightness
put it on
is
max.
preference. Screen bounds is just to set your screen bounds up, so I don't really need to do anything with that. And then brightness, I actually go one above the recommended. I do this in pretty much every single game. I find that every single game for me on my monitor, the default or recommended brightness is always a bit too low. Ignore this symbol on the left, adjust the brightness to make the symbol visible. Technically, I can still see the symbol when I put it on, but that makes the game way too dark. I would always recommend having the brightness a little bit over. You might have to adjust to it, but it will give you overall better visibility in the game. Next up, graphics quality. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of the settings menu. Graphics quality is just going to be custom because we're going to be changing everything below it. And let's start with anti-aliasing. So we've got 3 different options here: off, FXAA, and SMAA. These are what make the game look less jaggedy. So all the jagged edges, if we turn anti-aliasing off and we come back, you will see as we look round, it actually looks pretty good. Now, this surprised me because I assumed that having anti-aliasing off would make the game look really, really jagged, but it really actually makes the game look really sharp. Now, if you go to FXAA, come back in here, go to FXAA. FXAA is a form of anti-aliasing to get rid of the jagged edges, but really all it does is it blurs the game. And I think it makes the game look a hell of a lot worse. A lot of people recommend FXAA because it's easier to run than SMAA. SMAA is very good anti-aliasing, but it is more system heavy to run. But FXAA just adds this sort of like Vaseline spread all over the game, and it's quite subtle, but I do not like it. I would recommend for most people, unless you really can't stand jagged edges, I mean usually I can't, but I really can't see them in this game, I'd recommend you just keep anti-aliasing off. The game looks really good without it. There's only limited amounts of jaggedy bits, somewhat on the gun that I'm holding, but SMAA doesn't really change the screen space ambient occlusion. So ambient occlusion is a form of how shadows are rendered in the game, and by having this off, the game looks very, very flat. A lot of the small like nooks and crevices around the map where there would be natural shadows being cast, the shadows are just gone, and the game looks just this really flat. It's very subtle. Like if I sit here and look at the game now, I'm not like, oh my god, the ambient occlusion is missing, I need to put ambient occlusion on, but I can tell the game looks that little bit worse. The performance impact of going from off to HDAO is lot of the shadows on these kind of surfaces.
What about the 3D? What in the world's...
improves all that dramatically. Going up to 3D, the next setting does make that look considerably better, but it is system heavy. So I would recommend that most people stick at HDAO.
I'll do that.
Texture and isotropy. This is probably the simplest one on the list. Put this on max 16x. This should be pretty much set for every single game that you play.
Okay.
Why? Texture and isotropy has little to no effect on FPS or latency, but it definitely has a big effect on visual fidelity. This improves
That's
the
good to
look
know.
of textures when you look at them
Right here.
from an angle that isn't direct on. So if you look at a wall that's directly in front of you, then texture and isotropy is not that important. But if you're looking at the floor ahead of you, where you're looking at it from this angle and the floor is obviously flat, you're not looking at it straight down, texture and isotropy is what actually improves the look of those textures. And it's not system heavy, so shove this on 16 times, easy peasy. Texture quality. I run this at highest. Texture quality in basically every single game is all down to your VRAM usage. If you look at the top, my VRAM usage, I have up to 8 gigs, because I've got a 3070. I'm lucky enough to have one, thank God. But I'm only using 2.5k megabytes of the 8000. If I bring this down, you will see, just lowering it from highest to high, it brought down the VRAM usage by 500 megabytes. If I go all the way down to lowest, I come all the way down to 1000. So this is going to be sort of a personal preference thing, but for most people who have semi-decent builds and a decent amount of VRAM.
Oh, I pretty much got 8 gigs of VRAM.
You could probably run this at highest. If you are pushing the VRAM usage to the limit, then start bringing this down until your VRAM usage is fine. For a lot of people, high is going to be fine, but if you've got the build to run it, run highest. It does not affect FPS at all, and it makes the game look so much better. Shadow quality. I put this on low. Shadow quality is, for Destiny and for many other games, a really, really intensive setting. But I've actually found that the difference between running low and highest is weirdly minimal. If I put this on highest and we start looking around at some shadows, bring this down to low.
Oh yeah.
What it actually does, and it's weird, it just makes the shadows less dark, which if anything improves the visibility in the game.
That's
very,
awesome.
very weird.
Yeah, on highest,
Shadows are
shadows and
less
low, the
defined,
shadow
I
is
guess,
darker
but
on
they don't look
highest.
worse.
So it's kind
Maybe
of
they look slightly less realistic, but
because you still
you're
see the
gaining a
shadows,
solid
so it's
amount of
realistic with on low.
body poop. So we don't go down to that.
I
we just
never
leave it at
thought
low.
about that. See, that's why I'm
That's why I
going through
recommend
each of these settings,
everyone, unless
guys,
you are
so y'all can
really
follow
low
along
shadows, in which
and
case,
whatever.
Go with what you want, but that's what I recommend. Depth of field, really always want to keep this off. Depth of field is basically where things that are further away look blurry. It's meant to look realistic.
Okay.
I'd recommend you keep it off in every single game. It makes the game look horrible. It's a post-processing effect, so it does affect FPS as well, so keep it off. The next 4 things: environmental detail distance, character detail distance, foliage detail distance, and foliage shadows distance. Put these all on medium. These are, for some of these, the lowest. For some of them, they're like the medium setting. The medium is the medium. But for foliage shadows, as I just showed, it's actually for some reason they decided to do medium, high, and highest rather than low, medium, high. Who knows? But putting these all on medium just gives you a good balance, really. These are all just about finding a balance, how things look at distance. If you put these on the lowest, these first 3, it makes things at distance look pretty crap. But you don't need to put them on high, because that's just taking up resources for things that you're not looking at. The things that are at distance are the kind of things in your periphery. They're the things you're not focusing on. But you don't want them to look absolutely horrific, because then you start to notice them. You just want them to be there and look decent enough, and that's why I recommend you put these in medium. And then foliage shadows distance, I put this on the lowest, which is medium, because it still looks fine, and shadows at distance don't really matter anyway. Light shafts, I put this on high. The light shafts in this game actually look really, really nice, and they have minimal effect on FPS, so I keep this on high. I'd recommend you do so. Motion blur and wind impulse, I'd recommend you keep these off. Once again, they are post-processing effects that don't really add anything to the visual.
If he said keep motion blur on, I was turning it off.
Can make things look kind of
Turn the video,
I guess.
changing video.
So you might want to try playing with this one on or off and see if you actually like having it on and like having that wind effect in certain areas. But I recommend you keep it off, and then you don't really know what you're missing. Bit of an interesting way of thinking about it, but it can have
lastly, we're coming into the additional video area. Render resolution. This is what I was talking about at the top when I said don't change your resolution if you want to gain improvements in FPS or improvements in visual fidelity. You can do it down below. And that is this render resolution. So currently we're at 100 or 100%, which basically means we've selected 1920 by 1080, 1080p, and we're rendering it at 100% of that, which is what I recommend most people do, just leave it at 100. Now, if after going through all these settings you are really struggling for FPS, start bringing this down. You can bring this down to 90%. And if I apply this and go back, it blurs up the game a little bit, of course. That's, what it's doing. It's making the game more blurry. There's an event happening, which is kind of scary. Oh god. This isn't very helpful, is it? Why have you done this? Oh, there we go. That was weird, but now you can see the game is a bit more blurry overall, but it's playable. And if you're really, really struggling for FPS and you need an extra 5 to 10, bringing that setting down is a simple one-stop shop way of fixing it. So I would recommend bringing it down if you need to, but for most people keep it 100. You can also bring this up and make the game look really, really sharp. And honestly, if you don't care about FPS and you care more about visual fidelity, bring this up to 110 or 115. See what the balance is in terms of FPS and visual fidelity and find what works for you. But for most people, 100 is what I recommend. Last three settings, we'll bash through very quickly before we end this video. HDR, recommend you keep it off. If you've got a HDR display and you want to use HDR, you can go figure that out for yourself. I don't have one, so I don't use it. And if you don't have one, keep this off. Chromatic aberration and film grain both are post-processing effects that shouldn't be in video games. They do not make the game look better. They make the game look more realistic from like a film standpoint, which is stupid. We're not watching a film, we're playing a game, so keep these off. And there we go, guys. The full settings for Destiny in 2022. Wanted to go through all of these and give the in-depth breakdown. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do like the video down below and subscribe for more awesome.
I have NVIDIA Reflex on by default, and I would imagine since I have a NVIDIA 4060 RTX, I should probably leave that on, or should I turn that off?
Some videos coming very, very soon. Before us today, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.
Maybe somebody's right home. Maybe somebody. Look how old the video is, dum-dum. Shut up, you butthole. He's got to make a living. So watch the stupid ad because you're watching his video for free. You moron. People like you are disgusting. Y'all want everything free. You want to skip over everything. You want everything now. As a military veteran, you make me sick. Stand that crap, dude. People just need to shut the freaking mouth. Alright, let's see if I did any damage. Alright, settings have changed. Okay, let's go do a gambit real quick before I go to bed. Reset this. Yeah, unlock all these guys because you get XP from it. On your chest, man. What's it got? Lead arms. Okay. Well. Well. Yeah, I'm gonna save that. Cause that's kind of crap, bro. I thought I had better ones. Look at my helmet. You know what? It actually does look better, dude. I'm not even joking. I can tell the difference. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, with just one thing turned on wrong, it can make the game look bad, mess the game up. So that's what I'm learning on PC. You need to kind of go to the game you're playing and find out the best settings, or at least some good settings, so you know what to put it on. It's stupid that these companies don't put, but that's the thing. That's the problem. That's why I didn't want to get into gaming laptops or gaming on PC because, you know, yeah, my 32 gigabytes, my 4060 RTX, it'll last. It should last me about 10 years, 5 to 10 years, okay. But I also have a Thunderbolt where I can add you know, GPU or CPU or whatever, or a video card, whatever. I can't remember what I can add with that. So and I've got 2 slots for SSDs. So right now I only got 1 terabyte, but I'm thinking about taking the 2 terabytes out of my, especially now that I can play. Now that I know that I have all my DLCs on this game, I can play on Steam the DLCs because I didn't think I could, and so now I'm probably going to be playing, because I told everybody that I was probably switch over most games. Now I have games on PS5, of course, that I'm going to keep playing on PS5, certain games, of course, but I have like I've been on Sony since after Xbox 360. I went to Sony because the PS4. I like the PS4 way more powerful than the Xbox One. I'm telling you, I played certain games and it was crazy, the graphic difference, like between the base PS4 and Xbox One. But I do have an Xbox One S. But yeah, I basically have with asus. You know, I get the Xbox app that came with it, so I can play games from Xbox. Like I have Halo downloaded and stuff, so I can play all that from the PC. So I don't need to use my Xbox anymore.
Yeah, I was at Twilight Gap. My grandma too. Who was it? Shoot some fall.
Yeah, this feels. Oh my gosh, dude! That video helped, man. I'm not even joking. That video helped.
Hold on to your ghost. Give me those moats and I'll make you rich, brother. I promise.
Definitely feels way better. I want to play a game that. See, this game you can't get so much graphics on this game. Like, you know, at a certain point it just doesn't go above a certain thing. But I want to play. I want to test this laptop, see how. I mean, I did do 3D Mark, but I don't trust those things that well. I mean, I got pretty high score with 3D Mark on Steam, but yeah, I need to play a game where the graphics are really just what. I need to try a game out. Yeah, 90. See, I got it on 95 field of view. I mean, God didn't even know that guy was there.
Portal is primed. Locked. Incoming hostiles at the ring. Your allies
I don't need to invade anymore. All I need to do to get my dredging 10 times is
I like your style.
reset my rank. And I'm not too far away either. Oh, I like it. The only time I kind of got tired of Gambit is it took me forever to get the Malfeasance because I couldn't get everything to drop, like the ship or I think it was the ship that I couldn't get to drop. At first, I couldn't get anything to drop.
The blockers must die, brother. Bang. Summon that priming. Once you grab invader incoming. Hostile incoming at command. Invaders down. Portal's ready. Go say hello.
Dude, get off. No! The heck? I thought I wasted that. Come on, you stupid. That's right, boys. That's how you end the game. Oh my gosh, I still gotta rank up more.
Haven't seen shooting like that since an iron lady named Ephrodite ruined my bar. Dark age, wild times. Good work. storm approaching.
Ding-a-ling-ding.
It's time to bang knuckles. Seems impossible to eradicate the scorn, but hey, might as well. Hold on to your ghost.
Did I blind them through there? Did I actually blind them? They had all had red above their head. That's hilarious. That happened. Oh my gosh, bro. I don't know if I did or not. Should get back here. Okay.
Small blocker to the other side. Watch it. You're shedding motion. Kill the blocker. Incoming at command. Portal's prime. Donate today. Allies headed to the other side. Enemy invader down. High value targets on the field. Hunt it down. Ally is down. Pulling them back. Target destroyed.
Oh, John. Things in this place, bro.
Large blocker to the other side. You're a horrible person. Portal's ready. Go say hello.
I'll go say hello.
Incoming at the burrow.
Killed 5. Man, I was kicking butt invading it yesterday.
You're invading.
Why didn't I shoot him? Got 2 of them. Dude, what the hell?
Team has the prime eagle. You gotta finish first. The lead's yours.
Unworthy. Dude, how do you stand right in front of the guy and you don't do anything? What the heck is that? mess with me, bruh. Nice job, guys. Way to bring it up. Way to bring it up. Way to get it. I wanted that whole team, man.
What a haul! I promise
I wanted that whole team, bro.
Something that'll make you shiver.
Y'all know how to give anybody? Disgusting. It is disgusting, bro. Like, what? There's no heterosexual pride? Is that wrong? Give me a freaking break, man. People, that's what I'm saying. God is right. You go read the Bible, man. He talks about how crazy people are in this world and how crazy people will be. Exactly what they're doing. Anybody that sits there, a company that does gives money to BLM, which ended up being a horrible, terrible company, and got blasted and sued. And look at Bungie; they didn't even do any investigating. They just did all this Black Lives Matter pins that you could buy and stuff. Freaking disgusting. Bungie's a bunch of idiots, man. A bunch of woke idiots. I'm surprised this game is still as good as it is, honestly. If we don't get these feminist women out of the gaming industry, or at least out of decision making in gaming, all of our games are going to look like this crazy, stupid trash like Fortnite. Or not just Fortnite, but just I'm talking about these woke games, like Fable. The freaking head, the lead character in Fable you don't know if it doesn't look like a man or a guy, and like the chest is like, it could be a man or a guy. It's so disgusting, and it's an ugly it's gross, dude. People have already talked about it. I'm not the only one talking about this. There are people all over YouTube talking about how woke and stupid we need to get these crazy people out of these industries. And people are getting fired, dude. Because if a company's not making money, they don't give a crap if you're a lesbian, if you're gay, you're black, white, green, alien. If you're not making money, they're firing you. They ain't gonna keep you for no diversity. Give me a break, dude. That's a bunch of bullshit. You don't hire people for diversity. You hire people based on what they can do. I've been hired. I've had people been hired over me, and I have way more experience because they had to diversify. They haven't had a black guy or an Asian guy or a woman or something like. Give me a break, dude. You can take that woke crap and all that PC junk and shove it up your butts, dude. As a Christian, you do not. That is opposite of what we're supposed to think. We're supposed to love each other as a human race, and not supposed to glorify people individually by their ethnicity. There's no such thing as. There's only one race, guys. The human race. That's scientific. There's different ethnicities. So when somebody's racism, that's not. It's really ethnicity. The ethnicityism, but you can't say that. I can't bear it. See what I'm saying? So people just say racism. Everybody's racist. Black people racist. White people racist. There's somebody of every color in this world that's racist. And I've had black people tell me that black people can't be racist. Man, you talk about anger? I called him the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. I told him, I was like, so you're telling me if you're a black person and you say you start calling people cracker and all this other stuff like they do on YouTube all over the place, and YouTube doesn't do anything. My gosh, if I said the N-word, dude, I'd be taken down and by tomorrow, dude. But if they say anything on their channel about white people or crackers or whatever,
I've died just like everything else. People start talking
it works.
Get ready for training. Let's hunt some hostiles.
It works.
Bring them moose.
Thunderclap can hit the guys on the other side. That's hilarious. That even happens.